Hit the record. Here we go. Yep, I've got just right on the hour. So hello and welcome everybody to today's program on healthy Halloween treats. I'm presenting on behalf of Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plans. And today what we're going to be doing is creating some delicious recipes using the Halloween favorite, pumpkin. Can't go 2 inches without seeing pumpkin something during this season. And there's a good reason for that. Pumpkin is a superfood. It truly is a nutritional superfood. They're not just for making jack-o'-lanterns, although they make some really cool ones. Um, Pumpkin's a type of winter squash, actually. It's native to North America. And although we often think of squash and pumpkins as vegetables, they're really actually fruits because they contain seeds. And from a nutritional perspective, pumpkin has an awful lot to offer. It contains a variety of vitamins and folate, a B vitamin, vitamin C, vitamin E, all of which are shown to support your immune system. Riboflavin, which helps to your body fight off bacterial infections. So it really is a great winter food. It's great year-round food to eat, but particularly in the winter during our cold and flu season. Pumpkin's also rich in beta carotene, which your body turns into vitamin A. And in addition to being an immune booster, vitamin A is an anti-aging nutrient, and we all love that. It contributes to the cell renewal process, and that increases the production of collagen, can contribute to wrinkle-free skin. Vitamin A is also integral in helping to improve eyesight. And also, the beta carotene has been shown to be somewhat sun protective for people. Pumpkin's also a diet-friendly food. It is lower in calories than many of the carbohydrates, and it's filling. 1 cup is only 49 calories, and it is a good source of fiber, coming in at about 7 grams of fiber per cup. And that helps you feel full longer, and it helps to promote regularity. And truly, almost every single part of the pumpkin, from the skin to the flesh to the seeds, is beneficial for your health. So truly a superfood. When it comes to the pumpkin seeds, they too offer an awful lot of health benefits. The seeds are rich in fiber, which is terrific, and includes many other nutrients, including magnesium, which is a mineral that benefits your heart health and your bone health and helps to lower blood pressure. Like other nuts and seeds, they're rich in plant-based phytosterols, which have been shown to reduce LDL or bad cholesterol. It has zinc, which is an antioxidant and anti-inflammatory agent, tryptophan, which can help promote sleep and boost mood. Vitamin K helps prevent blood clots and excessive bleeding. It's a good source of, pumpkin is a good source of iron, which can boost cognitive function and great for muscle growth and can help prevent anemia. And it's also a good source of protein, coming in at 7 grams for 7 grams of protein for every 28 grams of pumpkin. So both the flesh of the pumpkin and the seeds of the pumpkin offer an awful lot of nutritional health benefits. When it comes to roasting a pumpkin or preparing a pumpkin, it's pretty easy. You want to use the smaller size sugar pumpkins, not the giant jack-o'-lantern pumpkins that you see in the pumpkin patch. The larger pumpkins you definitely want to use for decorating, though. They're fun. And roasting is one of the easiest ways to do it. And basically, you cut your pumpkin, you scoop out your seeds that you're going to hold on to cook separately. And then you can just dress it with a little bit of olive oil or avocado oil or coconut oil, whatever your preference is. Or if you don't want to use oil, you can either just moisten it with water, a little bit of salt, and roast it cut size down until it's nice and soft inside. And then you can just scoop out that flesh and process that in a blender or a food processor. So they're really easy to prepare if you want to buy the pumpkin. Although we know there's a lot of choices in the grocery now of canned pumpkin. And the only caveat I would say with that is if you're buying canned pumpkin, you just want to read those ingredients and make sure what you're getting is just pure pumpkin. All of the recipes that I'm showing here, and let me interject here just to say, if you want to take your phone and take a picture of the screen so you have the recipe for later or a screenshot, please do that. So now I'll leave that up for just a minute so you can do that. But when it comes to the recipes that I'm using today, I'm actually using an organic canned pumpkin, but you want to be looking at the can because frequently you'll see things that are pumpkin pie filling, and it has other things added to it, sweeteners and oils and things like that. So for these recipes, I'm just using a pumpkin puree. And if I didn't buy it canned, I could have roasted up my pumpkins, taken the flesh out and pureed that. But this just skipped a step. So today we're going to go and make some healthy treats using our pumpkins. So we're going to make a pumpkin hummus. I'm going to show you that. Leave this one up for a second. Chia seed pudding makes it not only a delicious snack, but also a terrific breakfast. The chia seeds are really healthy addition. They have healthy omega-3 fats in them, as well as great fiber. So this is a delicious little snack that we're going to make, or as I said, you could use this as a breakfast. And hopefully you got a shot of that. And finally, we're going to actually do some chocolate chip cookies. These are super healthy cookies. They're made out of just 3 basic ingredients, and we'll do a little bit of those. And that will be our healthy snacks. So let me stop this share here. And I want to go to a full screen. Terrific. So folks, I'm going to leave that chat box open on the screen. So if anybody has any questions or they want to interject while I'm moving along here, please feel free to do so. So here we are. So pumpkin hummus. Hopefully you saw that recipe. You had a chance to take a picture of that. I just want to move this back a little bit here. So what I've got here for my pumpkin hummus is I have a can of garbanzo beans. Now, hummus we think of as chickpeas. When you go into the grocery store, it's really hard to find a can that says chickpeas. Garbanzo bean is a chickpea. So just an FYI, because the first time I went looking for them, I was like, where are the chickpeas? Anyway, so I've rinsed these and drained them, and you really want to rinse them off. Make sure you get rid of all that extra sodium that they're packed in. Chickpeas are a terrific base. So what makes hummus so healthy is that they have some great vitamins and minerals and good fiber, and also a relatively good source of protein, vegetarian source of protein. So we've got our chickpeas. I've got 1 can of the rinsed and drained garbanzo beans, aka chickpeas. Next, it calls for a 1/2 cup of pumpkin. So you can see here I'm using my canned pumpkin, and the only ingredient on this is pumpkin. So that's what you want to be looking for. So we're going to just pop in a 1/2 cup of that. You can go a little heavier too if you really love the pumpkin taste. It's not going to hurt the hummus to have more pumpkin. So I got a 1/2 can of pumpkin in there. And then we're going to season that up with 1/2 lemon. For lemon juice, it calls, I think, for about 2 teaspoons, which is about 1/2 lemon. So I'm going to get some good lemon juice in there. My trick with these lemons is I do it one way and then I flip it over and you get a whole lot more juice out of it. So we've got our lemon in there. And then we're going to do 2 cloves of garlic. And again, I'm on the lazy side. I've been using this garlic paste, which I love, and 1 teaspoon is about 1 clove. So I'm going to just guesstimate that because you can never have enough garlic either, and pop in some garlic. So I didn't have to mince it all up or crush it. I've got tahini right here. You can find this in the grocery. This is often in hummus. If you didn't have tahini and you were making this more on wanted to make it a little more sweet rather than savory, you could actually use a nut butter thinned out. But I've got 2 tablespoons of this tahini here that I'm going to pop in. There we go. That down. 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, but I'm only going to put 3 in the mix, and then I'm going to reserve 1 or use 1 later on top. So there's my extra virgin olive oil. A little bit of water. We just got a couple tablespoons of water. And if when you're blending or mixing your hummus, it's a little too thick, depending on what you're using, you can always do a couple more drops of water, but use it sparingly. Then we've got a little dash of sea salt. It calls for, I think, a half a teaspoon. I'm going to keep that low. Some ground cumin is a half a teaspoon, and there's my little spoon over here. Half a teaspoon of cumin. Half a teaspoon of chili powder. I've got my 6 chili powder here. This is going to be a nice savory dish. We're actually adding a little bit of cinnamon in here, just a 1/4 teaspoon. Everything tastes better with cinnamon. And a little bit of cayenne pepper, just to give it a little bit of a kick. Now, if you didn't want to do the cinnamon, you could actually use pumpkin spice in this as well. So basically that is my basic recipe. Now, I'm not going to force you to listen to me blend this, but you blend this all up. And when you're done with that, what you have is this gorgeous hummus dish that's here. So I made this one earlier, and it is super tasty. And what I'm going to do with this, we talked about the pumpkins that you want to use to roast. This is your small little sugar pumpkin. So when you cut that pumpkin open, you can see you have all the seeds in the webbing here. We want to save those seeds to cook later. I've got a dish with some of the ones before. And basically, you just want to use a spoon that has a good sharp edge and just pull those out, just as you would if you were making your jack-o'-lantern. You want to get all the seeds and strings out. And I'm going to soak those seeds in water and try to get as much of the string off as possible. And then I'm going to dry them, and I will roast those in a low oven for a bit of time till they're all browned up. And you can season them. You can season them sweet with cinnamons and nutmegs, or you can season them savory with things like cumin or paprika. So here I've taken this cute little pumpkin bowl, and I'm actually going to use this as my hummus container, and popping that hummus right inside there. So if you have a Halloween party that you're going to and you want to bring a great little snack, you just want to, this makes a great little snack. And then that last teaspoon of olive oil, tablespoon rather, I'm going to drizzle that on top and top that with some paprika on top of all of that. And that just makes such a gorgeous presentation. Now, what I've done, how I'm going to serve that, just so y'all can see here, you had a sneak peek, is I'm going to serve that with my crudité that we've made up inside these little peppers, created my little mini jack-o'-lantern crudité, and we'll serve that all around. You could also serve that with pita chips or with you know, I'm going to probably bring to my party, which I have tonight, some tortilla chips that I will serve it with. So it makes a beautiful presentation. So there you have the first thing. Now I have some questions. Didn't have time to take a picture of the screenshot. This is being recorded, and this program is being recorded. So if you can get the recording, you could probably write down that recipe. So if anybody needs the recipe. In terms of the chia seed pudding, the recipe calls for more than 1 serving. So we'll go through that. But anyway, so that was your pumpkin hummus. And if you haven't tried it yet, I absolutely recommend you try it. I did mine savory with the cumin and the paprika and the chili powder, but you could take that same recipe and adapt that for something a little sweet, where you might put, instead of all the olive oil, you do some in the recipe, but you could dress it with, you could season it with cinnamon, with pumpkin pie spice, and then dress it with a little maple syrup on top. And I'm actually going to use some of these pepita pumpkin seeds. So the pumpkin seeds, actually, you either see, when you see pepitas, they are actually pumpkin seeds, but they look different than the ones we get out of our pumpkin. They come from a particular type of pumpkin. I think it's called want to say it's called a diamond pumpkin or whatever, but it's a very particular pumpkin that you get these pepita seeds out of. So I'm actually going to put some of these on top of my hummus as well. They come, pumpkin seeds when you buy them can be either shelled or shellless, and these happen to be shellless, so pepitas. But you could put that on top of your hummus too. So great recipe, great thing to use. If you want to make it sweeter for the kiddos, you can change it up a little bit and use more sweet base rather than savory. Okay, so let's get into the next recipe, which is our chia seed pudding. So, and again, if you haven't worked with chia seeds before, chia seeds are kind of an awesome little treat here. What's interesting about them is if you let them sit in liquid, they become sort of gelatinous, and that's what creates the pudding from them. But they are also high in protein, omega-3s, and great fiber. So chia is a terrific addition to your meals, to your repertoire. So chia seed pudding, I'm starting with a cup of milk of choice. So I like to use this unsweetened almond milk. And but you can use regular dairy, you can use coconut milk, you can use if you use canned coconut milk, the thicker coconut milk, you're going to get a thicker texture to it. Delicious if you love coconut. But any kind of dairy, whatever your choice is, oat milk, whatever. I'm just going to check this. Great. Folks, if you hadn't seen, the recording for this is going to be on the Harvard Pilgrim HC YouTube page. So keep your eyes open for that if you didn't get the recipe. Okay, so chia seed pudding, we've got 1 cup of our milk. And then we're going to do a half a cup again of pumpkin puree, which I used up my half cup over here and threw it in the sink. Let me just grab that. And here's my pumpkin puree. We got about a half a cup of that. Now you can eat pumpkin if you bought little sugar pumpkins. You can just roast those and you mash them and eat them like you would use a butternut squash, mashed squash, for instance, with all your seasonings in them too. So there's lots of different things you can do with those pumpkins beyond just decorating, especially the little ones. So I've got a half cup of pumpkin puree. I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons of maple syrup to sweeten this. Make sure you're using real maple syrup. I mean, there's a lot of syrups on the maple flavored syrups usually are just sugar, but the real maple syrup really gives it that real nice flavor, and you get a little bit of mineral from the maple. And then we've got some pumpkin pie spice, and it calls for a full teaspoon of that. So you're going to get a great pumpkin flavor. This is a half, so I'll do 2 of these. If you didn't like some of the things in the pumpkin pie spice, you could always just use cinnamon, a little dash of salt in here, and then a 1/4 cup of my chia seeds. Okay, here we go here. There's my chia seeds, if you can see them going in. Now you can find chia seeds that are all white too, if you didn't want to see the little dots in them. They're a little harder to find, like pure white chia seeds, but they're the same nutritional profile. Now, all I'm going to do with this is really try to whisk this up well to incorporate the chia seeds in it. And then I'm going to refrigerate this for at least 4 hours or overnight. I generally leave it overnight. And those chia seeds are going to thicken, and this is going to solidify into a nice pudding. Now, if you don't like the texture, because the seedy texture, you could take that and blend it and then let it chill if you prefer it that way. So there's the base of it. That's what we've got going on. These I made yesterday. I did it in the big bowl, let it chill for a bit just so that it gelled up, and then put them in the mason jars so they were single servings. So that bowl made I filled these all the way to the top, but you'd probably make about 4 of these little mason jars, about 24 ounces total. But this is what the chia seed ends up coming out like. It's all thickened up, delicious, and you can serve this with some nuts on top, a little bit of yogurt on top, and this makes a really delicious snack, nutritious snack, and a delicious breakfast as well. Lots of protein in there, lots of fiber. There we go. So that, my friends, is your chia seed pudding. We're working on time here. And then our final recipe that I put up there was for these healthy oatmeal cookies. Now, this is an interesting little recipe because, you know, usually when we're thinking about cookies, we're thinking about we need the flour, we need eggs, you need all kinds of things. And I make these frequently. I don't usually make them with pumpkin, but they come out terrific with the pumpkin, and so I'm going to start doing more of that. But I make them with mashed banana a lot. But basically, your ingredients are pretty simple. You need 2.5 cups of oats here. And there we go. 2, and I'm going to estimate this half because, again, about a half. 2.5 cups of rolled oats in the bowl there. A whole can of pumpkin puree, which I've got right here. I'm going to pop that in there. You could do half on this recipe. A whole recipe is probably going to make about 2 dozen cookies. A half will probably make, depending on how big you make them, maybe make a dozen. And then I'm going to add in my pumpkin pie spice here. And again, that's just a teaspoon of that. This is a half teaspoon measure I've got here. And the sweet part is going to be my little mini chocolate chips here. And I'm going to do about a half a cup of those. That's it. Those are my ingredients. That's all there is to it. Now you're just going to mix this around, get it all mixed up nice, and try to really get all those oats coated. I'm using regular long old-fashioned oats. You could, you know, if you have in your house, you know, the 5-minute oats or something like that, you can certainly use those as well. But so I've got this all mixed up here. Pretty simple. If I was using the banana instead, I'd be doing the same thing. If you have some bananas that are getting ripe, throw them in a bowl, a couple of bananas, a cup of oats, and some chocolate chips, and blend that up, and you've got a kind of a little sweet treat just to get rid of that sweet craving that you might have. Okay, so that's what my dough is going to look like once I've got it all mixed up here. Pretty simple right there. You're basically going to take that and pop it on your dish in rounded tablespoons, or if you have a scoop, a cookie scoop or something. But I'm basically just going to make a nice little round out of this here and pop that on my sheet. Now these are not going to spread and they're not really going to flatten. So you want to make them about the shape and size that you are going to want the cookies to be. So play with that on your dish. So that's what I would do with those. Let me get my here. I'll fill those all up, and those are going to go in an oven really only for about 15 minutes, 350, only for about 15 minutes or so. But check them. If you take them out and you want them a little bit more crispy, you know, maybe another 5 minutes or so, depending on how you like them. But I'm going to finish that dough off. It's as simple as that. Those very simple ingredients, pop that in the oven. And when those come out, what you've got there is this really great little soft oat cookie with the chocolate chips inside. Really delicious, not super sweet. If you needed to make it a little sweeter for your family, You could add some coconut sugar into this recipe. Actually, it just reminded me, I added coconut sugar in and I didn't add any sugar into this. I'm sorry about that. So good thing I didn't cook those all up yet. While I'm sitting here, 1/4 cup of coconut sugar. There is, and the recipe calls for it as well. That's where you're going to get your sweetener from. When I'm using banana, I actually don't need to put any kind of sweetener in at all because the banana is sweet enough. But with the pumpkin, it doesn't have quite as much sweetness. So you would either use, there are a lot of different options, but you can either use the coconut sugar or maple syrup or whatever kind of sweetener you might like. You could use monk fruit or stevia. Whatever kind of sugar you might like. See, I'm glad I didn't make all those cookies up. They wouldn't have been too sweet, although the chocolate chips do give it a nice little flavor. But I'm sorry, I messed that one up. So 1/4 cup of coconut sugar mixed in there. Doesn't change it dramatically. And this will be a 1/4 cup of sugar over probably at least 24 cookies. So it doesn't end up being too much sweetener per cookie anyway. But these I made last night and they do have the coconut sugar in, and they aren't super sweet, but they're really delicious and they're just like a little soft cookie. These will stay for a couple of days if I wrap them up well. So there we have our pumpkin chocolate chip cookies, healthy pumpkin chocolate chip cookies, our hummus and chia seed pudding. What I'm going to do from here is pop these seeds in water and let them sit for a little bit and really swish them around, try to get all the kind of gooey stuff off of them, and then dry them well on paper towels. I'll lay those out on a baking sheet. I'll probably do these a little bit on the sweet side, so I'll spray them with a bit of a coconut oil spray and then season them with some cinnamon and roast those. So when it comes to roasting the pumpkin seeds, I've got a little recipe here on that too. It's in a lower oven. Well, actually, this one calls for a high oven. You can either roast them in a low oven, because I've done it both ways, like a 325 for a longer period of time, or you can roast them in a high oven for you know, just a shorter period of time, about 15 minutes. And you want to check them. You want to stir them up a little bit too. So every part of the pumpkin we're using, and including the base for a beautiful little cute little presentation here for our pumpkin hummus, which will be so much fun to use. Okay, let's see what everybody has. Any questions? 1 cup of pumpkin, not 1 can, which is correct. The recipe is 1 cup. I didn't use a whole can. I just measured out a cup of it. A can is 15 ounces, so it's probably just a little over half of a can when you use it. Butterscotch chips. Oh my gosh, that would be delicious. Those pumpkin cookies would be good too with craisins. Like if you want, instead of chocolate, if you wanted to put something else in, you could use craisins with it, with the pumpkin. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to throw those recipes back up. Let me screen share here again and see if I can't get that so that you all can. Let me go backwards and see if I can't find. Okay, I'm going to leave these thrown up for a few minutes while we have the chat open. So if you have any questions or you want to make any comments on the chat. My favorite is really this hummus. If you like hummus, try adding the pumpkin to the hummus. I was amazed at how really good that was, and something about the cumin and the hot pepper in it, you know, gives it such a nice little tang. So there's the chocolate chip cookies. Hopefully you guys got that one. Here's the chia seed pudding. And again, those chocolate chip cookies, I almost messed up on those, but I used a 1/4 cup of just a coconut sugar. But you could use some maple syrup. Might make them a little stickier, but that would be great. You could use stevia if you don't use regular sugars or monk fruit extract, things like that. So um, if you're making that recipe with the bananas, though, mashed banana, the oats, and the chocolate chips, they really are sweet enough. You don't really need additional sweetener with it. Here's our chia seed pudding. Hopefully, folks got a chance to grab that one. And there finally is the pumpkin hummus. I'll leave that up for a little bit of time. And as I said, we did this in a savory variety with the cumin and the chili and the cayenne and even the smoked paprika on top. But this recipe could also easily be converted to a sweeter variation. All the beginning ingredients would stay the same. You might omit the lemon juice if you don't want that tang in there, and then add in pumpkin spice mix or cinnamon, nutmeg, and that would be another way to do that. Okay, there's the hummus. Someone is requesting that I go back to the cookie recipe. Let's see. Here's our cookie recipe. And I'm okay to stay on for a minute or two here so you all can get these. So what's the best thing about these cookies is that they feel kind of guilt-free while you're eating them. Okay, so I'll just leave that for another minute. Hopefully everybody got what they needed off the screen. Yeah, definitely want to make those cookies. They are yummy. They really are yummy. Terrific. Okay, we'll just leave it for just another minute so you can all get that. Hopefully you all got the cookie one. Super. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining me today on Healthy Halloween Treats. Have a wonderful holiday and enjoy your pumpkins this year, knowing how healthy they are for you. Okay, I think we are done.